Welcome to Latin at Home. I am Kathleen, your host. In this series, we will be using verses from the Mass readings to practice Latin. Let's get started. Many blessings on this 11th Sunday after Pentecost. Thank you for joining me at Latin at Home. The Gospel reading this week is from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 7, verses 31 to 37, and we are going to draw right from the middle of this, verse 35. Et statim aperte sunt aures eius, et solutum est vinculum linguae eius, et loquebatur recte. I definitely see a couple words in here that we've seen before. Let's start with et. I think we've seen it in every video. Et means and. Statim I believe we have seen before. Statim means immediately. And now we want to find our subject, and we have to go to the end to find it. Aures eius. It's a noun-adjective pair. Eius is a possessive adjective. And if you look at the previous sentences in this reading, you know we're referring to a he, so this is going to be his. And then aures are ears. So his ears. And these two words together, aperte sunt, make up our verb phrase. It's in the simple past tense. It is in the passive voice. But let's figure out the vocabulary before we worry about that. So it comes from the verb aperire. Let's look at an English derivative. Aperture, which is an opening. It's a word you hear a lot when talking about lenses and how big the opening is to let light through and things like that. And coming from the word aperire, which is to open. Like I said, we were in the past tense, in the passive voice, so this is were opened. Let me clear this so we can see the correct word order, and immediately his ears were opened. Et solutum est vinculum linguae eius. Let's just get et out of the way, and. Our subject is not at the end this time, it's just before, it's vinculum. When I see this word, I usually translate it as chain. It can also be rope and string, anything that binds. So just to be all-encompassing, I'm just going to say the bond. Now we are going to go over to the end, this noun-adjective pair, linguae eius. Eius, again, is his, and linguae means tongue. So this is his tongue, but we have a genitive ending here. And remember, the genitive usually inserts the word of, so we are going to do that here, of his tongue. Now we need to go back to the beginning of the clause to get our verb phrase, solutum est. Similar to construction to the previous slide, where we're in the passive voice in the past tense. This means was loosed or released or untied. I'm going to go with loosed. And we have one more clause at the bottom. Again, let's get rid of et, and. I do want to discuss loquebatur, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick look at the ending, tur. Realize that we are in the third person singular, so our subject is going to be he. And let's just insert that and hold that for a moment. Now let's explore this word. First, I want to look at the root to figure out what this means. If you are familiar with the English word loquacious, if you are loquacious, it means that you talk a lot. And that is because this is the verb to speak. Let's bank that in our heads. I also want to consider the verb ending here. This is not something we've done so much yet, but I'm going to choose an interesting translation, so I want you to see where I'm getting this. On this verb ending, there is a BA. When you see BA as part of a verb ending, you are in what is called the imperfect tense. It's a type of past tense. Now, the imperfect tense can have a lot of translation options. Most often it translates with the helping verbs was or were. It also has the option of using used to, or kept on, or began to do something. Imperfect is a very versatile tense when translating into English. Because in our sentence something was happening and then there was a change, I'm going to choose the began option. So the word began does not actually appear in the Latin sentence, but we are going to translate it that way into English, and I wanted to show you where I got that. It's because it's an option for the imperfect tense. And he began to speak. And finally we have recte, which means properly or rightly. And the bond of his tongue was loosed, and he began to speak properly. You just saw all the options for translating that tense. A lot of this vocabulary has lots of options to it, so let's make sure we take a look at the official translation. Our translation reads, "And immediately his ears were opened, and the bond of his tongue was loosed, and he began to speak properly." And let's see what the official is. And immediately his ears were opened. That all worked. And the string, okay, of his tongue was loosed. Okay, I'm surprised that that verb actually matched up. And he spoke right. So imperfect, like I said, is a past tense, so that makes sense. So great job today. I hope your Latin skills are developing. Before you go, please like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much for joining me at Latin at Home, and I hope you have a very blessed 11th Sunday after Pentecost.